The night he saw the bruises, everything inside him went silent before it exploded into a storm of memories, because the marks on her arms and the faint shadows along her neck were not just injuries, they were stories written on skin, stories of fear, endurance, and unspoken pain. And as the neon lights of the roadside diner flickered above them and rain tapped softly against the windows, the Hell's Angel who had survived roads that killed weaker men felt something he had not felt in decades, a deep, aching helplessness mixed with a protective rage he could not name, because the woman standing in front of him was not crying, not begging, not even angry, she was simply tired in a way only the truly broken ever are, and that was what hurt him the most. Before this story pulls you deeper, take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you believe in kindness and second chances. And tell us in the comments where you are watching from, because stories like this connect hearts across the world in ways nothing else can. Her name was Emily Carter, a quiet waitress who worked the late shift at a place most people forgot existed, a place bikers stopped for coffee and truckers stopped for warmth, and he had noticed her before not because she spoke much but because she never judged. She served everyone the same with steady hands and tired eyes, and that night, when he noticed the bruises, he did not react the way people expected a man like him to react. He did not shout or threaten or draw attention, instead he listened with his eyes, watched how she flinched at sudden sounds, how she stood as if ready to apologize for existing, and as the hours passed and customers came and went, the story of her life unfolded silently in her movements, revealing a woman who had learned to survive by becoming invisible, who had grown up believing pain was normal and silence was safety. Emily's struggle had started long before that diner, long before the bruises, in a small town where dreams were considered foolish and endurance was praised more than happiness, where she learned early that love often came with conditions and fear, and when she finally escaped one cage, she unknowingly walked into another, convincing herself that staying was strength and leaving was weakness, and each time she told herself it would get better, the bruises grew deeper and her hope thinner, until she ended up working nights, saving every dollar, planning an escape that felt more like a fantasy than a future. The Hell's Angel, whose name was Jack Mercer, had his own ghosts, years of violence, loss, and choices that could never be undone, but somewhere along the road he had learned the value of loyalty and protection, and seeing Emily awakened the part of him that still believed redemption was possible through action, not words. Without forcing her, without demanding answers, he began to change small things around her world, sitting in the diner longer, making sure she walked to her car safely, fixing the broken light outside, leaving tips that paid for groceries instead of drinks, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, the air around Emily shifted, because someone finally saw her not as a burden or a possession, but as a human being worth protecting, and that recognition alone began to heal wounds no one else could see. As weeks passed, Emily's fear did not disappear overnight. Healing never works that way, but cracks of courage began to form. She started speaking a little more, laughing a little louder, standing a little straighter, and Jack noticed every change like milestones on a long road trip, understanding that the hardest journeys were not measured in miles but in moments of choosing yourself over your fear. The night everything came to a breaking point arrived quietly, with no warning signs, when Emily came into work shaking, the bruises fresher than before, her strength clearly fading, and something inside Jack hardened into resolve, not the reckless kind, but the patient, calculated determination of a man who had learned the cost of acting without thought. He helped her find resources, people who could protect her legally and physically, places where she could sleep without fear, and when the moment came for her to finally leave, it was not dramatic or loud, it was quiet, almost sacred, like stepping out of a storm into calm air, and Emily cried not because she was afraid anymore, but because for the first time she believed her life could be different. The days that followed were not easy. There were setbacks, nights of doubt, moments when the past tried to pull her back, but each time, she remembered the way someone had looked at her bruises and seen her worth instead of her shame, and that memory became her armor. Jack did not become her savior in the fairy tale sense. He did not fix everything or erase the past, but he stood as proof that people are not always what their reputation suggests, that kindness sometimes rides in on a loud engine and worn leather, and that redemption often begins when we protect someone else because we once needed the same protection ourselves. Emily eventually left the diner, not running away but walking forward, enrolling in classes, finding work that honored her, building a life brick by brick, and every once in a while, when Jack passed through town with his brothers, they shared a quiet moment of understanding, no words needed, just the knowledge that two broken paths had crossed and changed direction together. As this story reaches its end, remember that somewhere right now, someone is hiding bruises beneath long sleeves and practiced smiles, believing no one will ever notice or care, and if this story touched your heart even a little, please like, comment, and share it so it can reach someone who needs hope today, because your engagement helps these stories travel farther than we ever could alone. And before the final moment fades, leave a comment telling us what this story made you feel, or if you have ever witnessed a small act of kindness change a life. Emily's life did not become perfect, but it became hers, and Jack continued writing, carrying fewer ghosts and a deeper sense of purpose, proving that sometimes the most powerful words are never spoken, they are lived, and the greatest change begins the moment someone looks at another human being and silently promises, "You matter," and that promise, once believed, can echo through a lifetime.